Hi everybody, thank you for attending today's webinar, The Exciting World of Benefit Plan Provisions and Considerations. My name is Gordon Hart and I am a Right Path Advisor at Selectpath Benefits and Financial. Today's webinar is scheduled for 60 minutes, which will include approximately 45 minutes of content along with 15 minutes at the end for questions and answers. Please feel free to stop me during the presentation to ask questions as they arise, as we will review material quickly, and at the end we will have some time for some questions, but sometimes I forget and ramble on. We will try and avoid that today. This webinar is being recorded for future use. We would like to recognize the International Society of Certified Employee Benefit Specialists for the content, and as the lawyers asked me to say, the opinions expressed during this session reflect those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Selectpath Benefits and Financial or the Society of Certified Employee Benefit Specialists. With that being said, let's begin with today's session. So this session is part of Selectpath's 4 sessions we like to refer to as Benefits Bootcamp. The first session was done in July with Kevin Routley, and we talked about the group insurance landscape and products. There is a link to that session. Today we'll be talking about provisions and considerations. Len McLaughlin will be talking about administration, and Carson Udman brings up the exciting world of underwriting 101 coming in September. So look out for those feeds to those connections to those sessions. So, without further ado, the agenda. So, we will be talking about general provisions within the group insurance program market. We'll review plan design. We'll follow up with benefit program considerations and finish off with cost containment for health and dental plans. So, group benefit programs are usually a condition of employment and therefore form part of the employment agreement. Employers, or plan sponsors as we will refer to them going forward, may contract with a provider, who could be an insurer or a third-party administrator or a claims payer, to deliver an employee benefit plan. The plan sponsors set out within their contract with the provider whether the plan is contributory, meaning the employees contribute to the premiums, or non-contributory, meaning the plan is 100% funded by the employer. The contract will also stipulate whether the plan is mandatory, meaning that all eligible plan members must participate, or non-mandatory, which means plan members can voluntarily opt out regardless of comparable spousal coverage. The contract will also stipulate the waiting period, which is the time from the date of employment that a plan member must wait to become eligible for the coverage. And the contract will also outline the eligibility criteria, which may include a requirement for working full-time versus part-time or contract status, minimum average number of hours per week worked that the member must work to stay eligible. Typically, this is more than 20 hours a week and often is 30 hours a week or more. Policyholders can use the eligibility criteria to limit access to coverage as long as the criteria does not discriminate based on the 14 grounds of the Human Rights Code. So, in terms of continuation of provisions, plan sponsors or the provider will also define who a dependent is. Typically, a dependent is a spouse, whether married, common law, or same gender were defined, as well as a dependent child up to the age of 21 or 25, 26 if enrolled in post-secondary institution. It's important to note that most providers will only allow one spouse per member. Therefore, it's important for plan members to notify the sponsor of any dependent changes not exclusive to separation agreements or divorce agreements. That may sound interesting. It is a situation that does arise occasionally with employee benefit plans. It's also important to note that providers may require proof of enrollment in post-secondary institution to remain covered as a dependent, and dependents who are not in school and living independently with their own employment are not considered dependents regardless of age. Most programs provide coverage up to a stated age or early retirement. For somewhat larger private and publicly funded organizations, policyholders may continue to provide coverage into retirement. This feature is reasonably rare for smaller groups, and the risk associated with that is why it is difficult for smaller employers to allow. So typically for employers with less than 50 employees, having retiree coverage is quite challenging. Termination, when stated in the policy, typically runs to an age like 70 or earlier, or based on illness, for benefits like life, accidental death and dismemberment, critical illness, dependent life, short-term disability, health, and dental. Typically, though, long-term disability coverage terminates at age 65 and often 120 days before their birth date because of the elimination period or waiting period required to qualify.